Howdy, everybody. My name is Ryan Schul. Welcome to my analytics channel. So in the narrative today, I want to take a look at estimating lost sales from stockouts and POS and inventory signals. Okay, so we're going to use these three kind of in a triangulation fashion and try to understand what is going to cause that stockout, how we can prevent that, what is a POS, and how do we manage these, and what are inventory signals that we get from our normal selling of retail items in the store throughout the day and the week and the month. Okay, so let's look at the case study where we need to estimate lost sales from stockouts. What is a stockout? Basically, it means running out of inventory when a product that a customer wants is not available for that customer. Okay, it's not on the shelf. So we're going to look at this in POS, which is a point of sales, which is basically a system where transactions occur, basically the cash register or a sales terminal, something like that, right? So we're going to try to take these signals and understand and make predictions into the future and do forecasts into the future and understand what's on hand at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, any kind of receipts that we generated during the day, prices, promotions, are inventory items moving faster or slower? Are we starting to run out of inventory and we need to reorder at this point? Or is the inventory kind of stagnant and stale and just sitting around and we have to move that quicker, so we have to generate a promotion or somehow stimulate people to buy the products that we're selling, okay? So if we only have inventory on hand, we can try to approximate the best on hand and try to prevent stockouts, right? Or end of day surpluses, things like that. So I have this code that I found online, or not this code, I found this sample data set that I found online. This is what it looks like. So we have about 25 columns here, and it consists of orders, order numbers, quantity, month, year of the order, customer name, phone number. So we have some contact information, right? Basic information. What would this be like? Not even demographic information, but basic information about the products that we're selling. Contact name, first and last, and then deal size. Okay, so this is the data that we're dealing with. This came from, I think, from Kaggle. I think I found it on Kaggle. Let me see. Yeah, this is a data source over there. So if you copy and paste this into a new browser window, you can download the data and run the code. I'm going to give you all the code so you can run this yourself on your own Jupyter Notebook system, and you can follow along pretty nicely. And again, I think this is the best way to learn. You learn by doing. If I just give you a short lecture, are you really going to learn as much as if you had done it yourself? Probably not, right? So if you get your hands dirty and get in there, copy, paste the code, run it, mess around with the code a little bit, make changes, modifications, and see what the outcome is, and see what kind of how the output is changing as you make changes to the inputs. I think that's the best way to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Enter to run this. This data is sitting on my desktop. It's called Sales Data Sample. It's on my desktop right here, and I'm going to import that. And we're going to take a look at this. Okay, so we have, let me see, data frame display, data frame head. I have that right here. So we can see in Jupyter Notebook what we just saw in Excel. So order number, quantity, order, price for each, order number, sales, order date, status, so on and so forth. And then some statistics around when it was ordered. So quarter, month, year, and MSRP code, okay, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and do some feature engineering. This is when we have existing features and we somehow modify those features or extract useful information from those features and create brand new features from pre-existing features. So that's what I'm going to do right here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is copy the data frame. You can see I have dataframe.head right here. I like to make copies of these dataframe.copy into DFO. So this is DF 0, right? So I have data frame here. You can name it anything you want. I like to make copies just in case something gets messed up over here. In this part, we don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. It's only one step. It's not huge, right? If we have to go back to the beginning, but I'm a big fan of copying your work to a new data frame as we move along. So further on in the process downstream, if something goes wrong, we can go back one step, maybe two steps, change it, fix it up, and rerun it. We don't have to go all the way back to the beginning and redo everything from scratch, right? So I have the new data frame. I'm going to add a date, store number, SKU, ID, status, units, revenue, and price. Okay, so we're getting all these new features into a new data frame from the original data frame. Here's the original one, and I think it said add 25 features, right? If I go over here, 25. Okay, yeah. And you can get the same thing if you went over here. If you did data frame.shape, you can see you always have rows, comma, columns. Here's the rows, 2,823 rows and 25 columns, right? So that is exactly what we would expect to see. So control enter to run this. Let me see what the updates look like. So now we have units, revenue, price, unmet status. This is canceled, on hold, back order, or pending. So this is important, right? To understand what has been shipped. Has it been shipped or has it been canceled? Is it on hold? Is there a dispute? Is the shipment in process? Has there been some issue, but it's been resolved? Is some kind of supply chain issue or something that needs to be remediated? That's what we have to look at here and try to understand anything that potentially can cause us to not get our inventory, and then we can't sell it, right? So if there is some kind of blocker and the supply chain is not operating like it's supposed to be, then there's no way we can get the products and sell them on our shelves, right? So we have to ensure that the supply chain is functioning and get the products on the shelf. Then we can go ahead and do or run the business that we need to run, right? We're in the retail business. We're not in the supply chain business in this scenario right here. So we have unmet status, SKU price. We are going to look at the price, take the median price, so we get the average, median is average, and we're going to rename these columns so it's as price and SKU price median. And down here, if anything is missing, we're going to fill in missing values. And this is going to be based on MSRP, so manufacturer's suggested retail price. Control enter to run this. Okay, so we have the new features over here. And remember, we ended up here with contact, last name, first name, and deal size. So we have that down here, contact, last name, first name, deal size. This is a feature engineering piece, right? So we're creating new features from existing features. So we have the date over here. We have the store SKU number or SKU detail, right? So SKU detail says this is shipped, the number of units shipped, revenue, price, any lost units. Has anything been lost in the shipping process? No, this is fine. SKU median price and SKU price proxy. Okay, these two are probably going to be the same, not necessarily, but in the example here, we see that they are the same. So we have daily aggregation per store times SKU. Let me refresh this. And we're again looking at the aggregation based on date, store, and SKU ID, right? Or SKU label. In this case, this has been shipped. If we see anything not shipped or damaged or broken or something, so that would be under the status here, and this is the SKU identifier, right? So these all look like they are the same to me. So these 5 are the same. Okay, so we go down here. We're going to go ahead and do some basic aggregation. We are looking at the date and looking at the monthly period. We're here based on month, and we want to get monthly roll up, which is going to be nice for ranking all of these different transactions that we're looking at. Okay. Okay, so we have the year and the month, the store, the SKU ID, demand units, and we're summing these lost units, we're summing these lost sales, we're summing these in price proxy. So the price proxy is going to be just like a baseline expectation numerical price for these SKU units. Okay, and if you go back here to the previous step, we're also doing aggregation down here, and these are demand units. We're doing a sum, right, and a median. Just to get the average prices over here, okay? So we can go down here. We have any lost rate units. That is something we want to be aware of. If something was lost during the shipping process or damaged, or somehow it was supposed to be shipped, but it didn't make it onto the shipping container or something like that, we need to know about that, right? So we're looking by group by aggregate. Again, these aggregates are very common. You see that all over the place in my code and then a lot of people's codes, right? We're taking everything and aggregating up to a certain level. Most of these, honestly, are pretty straightforward. And in my experience in the last 2 decades on Wall Street, most of the time you're doing a sum or you're doing a count. Here, we're looking at median values. You can look at the mean, which is the average. Median, I believe, is the most common number. Let me look at this. I've moved these, and sometimes I forget the terminology here. So I think mode is the most common. Mean is the average, and the mean is in between those, I think. Let me see. What does it say? Mean. Okay, so that's the average. Median is the middle number. Okay, so middle number, and mode is the value that appears the most frequently, right? So if you have a normal distribution, these are all the same. If you have a right skewed or left skewed distribution, they're going to be kind of similar but somewhat different, right? So the mean is the average, median is the middle number. Those two could be the same, not necessarily, and the mode is the most frequent number. Again, if it's normally distributed, these three are the same. If it's not, then they're slightly different. So we have the mean and the median number, the sum. Again, summing, usually it's a summing account, mean or median, sometimes standard deviation. I've seen that several times, but by and far, most of the time you'll see a sum or a count. So again, we have the aggregation on here. Again, sum, we're doing sums, lost sales and lost units, summing lost sales, lost units, summing demand and lost units, and total sales. And we're summing units, revenue, and lost unit status down there. So let me go ahead and hit Control Enter to run this. We can see the top SKUs by estimated lost sales. So here's the SKU ID. So this is the unique identifier. Total sales, 1,247 and change. Total lost units, 143. Okay, and we are looking at this in year and month and lost sales. So total lost sales is going to be in descending order. It says ascending equals false. So if it's not ascending, it's descending. So the biggest number is at the top. Okay, and it goes down from there, right? So SKU, that's the ID, lost sales and lost units, and so on and so forth. This is the SKU, lost sales and lost units. And pretty much you'll see a high correlation between number of lost sales and number of lost units, unless the cost per unit for some reason is much higher or much lower. But in the average space, most of the time, you'll see as this number goes down, this number goes down too, okay? So here's the top stores by country, by estimated lost sales. So we have USA, Sweden, Spain, UK, and Japan. These are the top 5. And total lost sales goes from 179,000. So pretty big number that has people's attention, definitely, down to 38,524. And then it goes to 0. So these countries down here have no lost sales and no lost units. We only have 4 instances of lost sales and lost units: US, Sweden, Spain, and the UK. Okay, so overall, pretty good shape. We had a couple losses in the first 4, first 4 countries that we're looking at, but after that, it goes to 0, so we're in a good spot there. So I see something here. This is missing down below. Let me save this and refresh this, okay? I think this notebook tends to have Alzheimer's sometimes. It tends to forget what's going on here, so I have to refresh the screen. So here's the aggregations. We just looked at that. We looked at that. We end up here with the year and month, the store location. This is the United States, SKU ID, demand units, lost sales. Okay, these two are going to go hand in hand. These two are tightly coupled, but it doesn't have to be, right? Like if you have a unit that sells for a very high price, you could have just a few lost units and a lot of lost sales, or vice versa, right? If you have lost units that sell very, very cheap, you can have a whole bunch of lost units and just minor lost sales, right? But usually they are pretty tightly linked. Number of units and number of sales are going to be increasing pretty much like hand in hand there. Price, proxy, and then lost rate units. Again, number of units lost from these transactions if you have a damaged good or product that you can't sell. So the code above normalizes several columns: the date, the store, the SKU, units, revenue, status, and price of the unit, right? Now we can tell what's most likely in demand and aggregate by store times SKU times day and month, okay? So you can imagine if we are missing some shipments, right, and we're not getting the inventory for maybe several days or a week or a couple of weeks, we're going to have losses right here, right? It's going to multiply by SKU, it's going to multiply by the day, and it's going to add up over time. So if we start to notice these losses, we have to intervene pretty quickly and figure out what's going on and why is this happening? Why are we losing products? What's getting damaged? Why are the shipments not coming in? Whatever the case is, right? Hopefully not, but if that comes up, we have to deal with it and, again, get to the bottom of it, figure it out, and fix the problem, right? So we're also looking at estimates of lost units and lost sales using SKU price and a price proxy. And overall, we're looking at SKUs by stores to try to determine lost sales, okay? So let me hit Control Enter over here and refresh the next cell. So we're gonna have a couple of plots at this point. I always say a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's absolutely true. We have some data that looks very, very interesting over here. This is very compelling. Over here, we see US, Spain, Sweden, UK have losses. The rest of these countries have none. And over here, based on the SKU unit, we can see the top losses based on SKU and top losses based on country. So that's what I want to focus on. The next step, we're doing the group by store, aggregating lost sales, and looking at the sum of total lost sales. Remember what I said, usually it's sum or count. Count doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, although we could look at that. But really big picture, I want to see what the bottom line hit is on the financials. So I'm going to look at the sum, and then we'll want to look at the country too to see which countries are at risk here for losing inventory or products, or during the shipping process, why are we not getting the product from point A to point B? What is going on here, right? What's happening? Hopefully this doesn't happen, but if it comes up, you've got to deal with it, right? So that is going to give us a country view, and I also want to look at locations, color of lost sales. The hover name is going to pop up over the mouse when I put the mouse on top of the country. The hover data is going to be seen, and the title. And then we're also going to see a bar plot with total lost sales, red blue scale, and the height and the width. And then I'm going to put a title on there too. So we should see two plots when I run this, Control Enter. And here, this is exactly what I described. Here's the largest losses in terms of geographic regions. So the United States, 179,711. So it's dark green. You can see the darker green is higher number. Dark red is lower number. So we go 179,711 down to Australia, which is 0. That's fine. We have a couple in orange. A lot of these are 0, right? So anything that's red is 0. We have a couple in orange. So this is Sweden, 65,894. Remember that. 179,711. Shoot, we lost it again. Okay, let me refresh. Not sure why it does this. Let's get some lost in the memory. I guess. Let me go down. So, okay, so here we go. So Sweden, 65,894. US, 179,711. That's what we see over here, 179,171. 711. Sweden, 65893. Spain is 48,000, and UK is 38. So 48 and 38. Spain. All right, now it's freezing up again. Nice. Good job. Good job. You have to be very gentle with this thing. Okay, let me go back just to get a refresher here. So 48,000, 38. So Spain's 48, UK 38. And freezing again. Okay, not sure what's going on here, but let's save it again and refresh again. It can be very temperamental. Okay, so with the refreshed page, hopefully this works. Let me go down here and see. Okay, 48 and UK is 38. Good, we got it. That's what we saw over here. 48 and UK is 38. Okay, so we have the geographical regions plotted fine. And then if we go down here a little bit further, total SKU by estimated lost sales. So 3029 is number 1. I should have a pop-up there. That doesn't work. Okay. I think I need a memory upgrade for this machine. So give it a second. It still doesn't want to do that. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. US, Spain, and UK. Okay, that's working. Let's be very, very, very gentle with this thing. I don't want to upset it too much here. Okay, and over here. Okay, now it's working. So 3029 is the number 1 SKU with the highest sales. 12475. If I go over here, 3029, 12475. 3029. 12475. Okay, so we got that. That's nice. And the last one is 1785 6893. See that? So 1785 6893. Oh, it stops here. Okay, so I only have the top 10. I have 4757 8300. 4757 8300. Let's go to top 10. 4757 8300. If I had the top 20, you could see everything. 1785 6893. I could change that, I guess. Let's see. Top 10. That was 20, right? So 1785, 6893. So now you can see the top 20. So that matches exactly what we would see above. And again, the dark blue is larger and the dark crimson, dark red is smaller. So with this SKU, we're losing $12,400 with 1785 SKU ending 1785. We're losing $6,800, almost $6,900. Okay, so that just gives us good insight into what SKUs are getting dropped off, getting neglected, getting forgotten, or just getting damaged, basically damaged in the shipping process. And we have to find out why, right? That's the job here for the retail manager. Why is this happening? And how do we get things back on track, right? So let's look at a couple more metrics to help us out here. So we have DOW, this is the day of the week. And we're going to go ahead and look at grouping by store, SKU, and DOW. That's the day of the week. And we're going to look at daily expected units and also the probability of a stockout. Okay, so if the heuristic stockout of actual items on the shelves is less than expected to the price promotional change, if you're having a promotion, you might not want to have the promotion, right? If you already have like lower inventory, lower numbers of inventory, you probably don't want to have a promotion because that can drive up sales and just liquidate whatever's on the shelf, which is great. You can sell it quickly, but then you have a barren shelf. That's not a good look when somebody goes into a grocery store or a retail outlet or any kind of shopping experience. You don't want to have barren shelves. It looks weird for the customer. It looks weird for the retail manager. All right, so you want to promote things. If you only have a few items left, you want to promote things. If you have a lot of items, and especially if the expiration date is coming up relatively soon, you want to move those products, right? So you have to apply promotions to the right types of products if you have a lot of it and things aren't moving. If it's moving pretty quickly, there's no rationale for promotion, right? So just common sense, you have to apply common sense, right? So daily expected units greater than 0.5 and the demand units less than 0.2 times the expected units, then we can calculate the probability of a stockout, okay? So lost units stockout estimate is basically the probability of a stockout, which we just calculated above right here. So that flows down to here. You can see how everything flows. Expected units right here. I can search for that and you can see expected units right here is over here and it flows down. And then demand units over here is going to flow from there to there. So everything flows from the top to the bottom. It's very nice, neat, orderly, and so on and so forth. So we have the lost sales stockout estimate right here, which is the lost unit stockout estimate times the price proxy. That's what we came up with earlier. Control Enter to run this. And we have the new data frame right now, which is comprised of date, store, SKU number, demand units, demand revenue, lost units, okay, anything lost in the shipping process. This is 0, so that's fine. We haven't lost anything. Price proxy, lost sales, year to month, day of week. This is Dow, day of week. So we start with 0, we go up to 6. 0 is Monday, 1 is Tuesday. These are all Tuesdays. 3 is Wednesday, 4 is Thursday, 5 is Friday. I missed one. 0, Monday, Tuesday is 1, Wednesday is 2, Thursday 3, Friday 4, Saturday 5, and Sunday is 6. Okay, so we have expected units, probability of stockout, expected units, probability of stockout. No, these are all false, so we're safe there. Lost unit stockout estimate, nothing, nothing, nothing. So these are all fine, right? We're not expecting any stockouts. Now, it's not saying that it can't happen. It could happen, but if we were expecting it, we could deal with that and anticipate it and try to prevent that from happening. Maybe even if we're expecting a stockout where we sell all the inventory, right, and there's nothing left on the shelf, maybe raise the price slightly and try to take advantage from this spike in demand, right? Whatever product you're selling, if all of a sudden the price goes up, you can imagine umbrellas when it's raining, snow shovels when there's a big snowstorm coming, things like that. You can jack up the price a little bit, right? Make more money and protect yourself from a stockout. So there's a win-win. So let's look at this aggregation. We're looking at the sum of lost units total, and we're looking at the store or the country. We're renaming from store to country. The countries we're focusing on here are US, UK, Vietnam, and Korea. And we're looking at any kind of country. If this is unknown, we're going to fill forward, fill NA. So anything that's NA is not a value, or NaN, not a number, or something. If we don't have this number filled in, we're just going to fill it from above, okay? So we fill from above and just push that down because we don't want to have any blanks or any unknowns here. There's a few ways to do this. We can actually interpolate missing values using some kind of mean mode median, metric, things like this. We can actually use machine learning to look at different features in a data frame and see what most likely those rows would be if those records were filled in. That is the most elegant way that I have found to do that, so I tend to do that a lot. But there's many ways to do fill forward or fill backward or just fill in missing values. So I want to go ahead and create a choropleth map. This is going to show us all the shapes and borders of countries. It's going to go ahead and fill in the countries with the country name, lost units total, lost units, and then the total damage or total hit to the bottom line that we're going to incur from the stockouts rate. And we're going to group by SKU aggregation of lost units and sum these and look at lost units total. And again, we're going to create a bar chart. So instead of a choropleth chart, you can Google this if you don't know what this is. It's basically a visual representation of different countries of the world with the borders of the countries showing right here. And there's all kinds of different details. Like we don't have a lot of details over here because we don't even have any transactions in these countries like Uzbekistan and Pakistan and Liberia and what else is over there, Yemen, things like that. We're not doing any sales, so you don't really need the country borders. If you need the country borders, you can go ahead and get that and add that in. If you don't have any transactions there, it doesn't matter, I don't think, if you even have the borders. Like we can fill in all the countries in South America, but we don't have any business there, so what's the point of that? So Control Enter to refresh this. Okay, we get the choropleth map. The first one you see is plotly.choropleth. This is the visual representation of all the geographical locations around the world where we're doing business, right? Where we have a retail business. And let me zoom in just a tad there. And then if we go down, we see a bar chart, again, showing the estimated lost sales by SKU unit. And here we have 3816 as the number one. I'll jot down the top three: 3816, 3029, and 2466, top three. And okay, so where am I? Writing down the top three SKU numbers by lost sales. So I have 3816, 3029, 2466, and the bottom three, 3505, 2870, 3420. So I just wrote those down. Let me go over here, show you. This is going to be somewhat similar, but slightly different, right? This is top 10 SKUs by estimated lost sales, right? And down here, we're looking at SKUs by estimated lost sales total, right? So two similar but slightly different perspectives. So here we have 3029, 3029, 3816, 2466, 466, top three. And the bottom three is 3140, 4289, and 1785, 1785. Bottom five, bottom three. So 1785, 2870, 3140, those are all different. 2466 matches, 3029 matches, and 3816 matches. Okay, so 3029, 3816, 2466 is the top three on the left here, SKU, estimated lost sales. And we see something similar, a little bit different. 3816, 3029, 2466 is the top three. And then the bottom three are all different. Because remember, we're looking at slightly different things here, right? So the top 20 change if you want more or less bars. We're looking at 20 bars. I think that's fine. This is SKU by lost units total, and this is coming from by SKU. So that's the data frame, right? So just keep that in mind. If it's a little confusing, just Google it. The data frame that we're feeding in is SKU. I'm sorry, by SKU. It's called by SKU, right? This is the bottom. Wait, sorry, jumping around here. Don't mean to confuse you. Trying to do the opposite. This is the bottom, right? So by SKU, and this is the top 20. Okay. So name of data frame, top 20. X is SKU, so this is a horizontal bar, and the numeric is the Y, right? Lost units total. And over here we have top SKU, so top SKU. And this is by 20, and SKU and total lost sales, right? So we have total lost sales and total units, lost units total, right? So it's just, I'm just trying to emphasize that it's a slightly different perspective the output is somewhat similar but slightly different. Right here, the Y unit is lost units total. Over here, we have total lost sales, right? So one, we're looking at sales, one, we're looking at units. The SKU is the same in both cases. One is units, one is sales. Over here, SKU is the same. And the data frame is slightly different. This is by SKU. That's the name of the data frame. By SKU, it comes from here. That's by SKU data frame. And over here, we have top SKU. If I do Control F, I can see top SKU by, actually comes from over here, apparently. Top SKU comes from here, okay? So slightly different perspective and slightly different output too. So we have the choropleth map. These are the geographical maps right here plotted. I think that looks pretty nice. It illustrates the point of what we're trying to do. And again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Put this in front of some key stakeholders and I gotta say, okay, lost sales in the United States, that's a problem. We have to investigate. All these other countries are pretty much fine, mostly zero. A little bit issue over here with Sweden, Spain, and UK, not a biggie. And down here, we have the choropleth map again. Blue is bad, so United States is bad. All these others in red is pretty fine. These are all zero. Little issue over here with Sweden. These are lost units, not lost sales. Remember, units, but a unit could be like maybe one unit sells for $10 or something, right? So you take the number of units, multiply that by 10, that gives you the sales, right? So that fundamental foundation is the same number of units, but you're only looking at units as a number of counts or units times the number of times the price, and that's going to give you the sales, right? So similar but different. Hopefully that makes sense. It should. It's pretty fundamental, right? So it should make sense. So okay, we're in good shape. Just a few more things, almost done here. Just a few more things, hang in there. How can we reduce losses? So that's the point here. So we analyze all the losses. We know the losses are occurring most frequently in the United States, a little bit in Sweden, Spain, and UK. I think those are the top four, right? So how do we reduce losses? We know where the losses are. That's fantastic. If we didn't know, we have to figure it out. Now we have figured it out. Now what's the next step? We have to prevent these losses from occurring in the first place. Safety stock and reorder points. So tune the store's sales by the SKU, showing the demand variability, the lead time, the target service level, things like this. So you have to know, you have to do these calculations to understand either explicitly or intuitively what units, what SKUs are moving the most, right? What's the most popular, what's flying off the shelves and what's sitting around, right? So if you have something flying off the shelves, you're gonna have to reorder more frequently. If you have something sitting around for a long time, almost, especially if it's a perishable, if it's been sitting around for months, then you're going to have rotten fruits and vegetables or rotten produce, whatever you're selling, right? And even if it's not perishable, if it's canned goods, maybe cereal, maybe who knows what, towels or Mountain Dew, those are not perishable items, right? But if they're sitting around for a month and you're not selling things, why is that? You have to figure that out, right? More promotions, maybe product placement, maybe it's too high, maybe it's too low. It's not in the line of sight where people can see it, and it's hard for people to notice that, right? So they're not buying the stuff. So you have to figure out how to get the stuff moving off the shelves. Lead time reduction, work with suppliers. You want stable lead times. You want this to be predictable. Dynamic allocation. So this is prioritizing space, scarcity of space, inventory, store SKUs, things like that, right? Substitution playbooks. If an SKU is out, how do you substitute something in that place, right? If you have maybe some kind of citrus drink, like I love orange, what is it? I forgot the name. I don't even know the name. I just go in the store, it looks orange, and I buy the thing. Some kind of orange citrus, whatever it is, orange juice. So it's not really juice, it's orange soda. But I like to buy orange soda. And it tastes somewhat to me like Mountain Dew, right? They're both citrusy, they're both kind of lemony, limey, kind of Sprite-ish. So maybe if your Mountain Dew is out, the inventory has been depleted, maybe put some Sprite over there, or the orange citrus, something that is somewhat similar, substantially similar, and you can kind of substitute one product for another, right? You won't have barren shelves. You want to have something sitting on the shelf and make that available for your customers to purchase, right? It's a bad look if the shelves are barren and you can't make any money, right? If the shelf is empty and there's some kind of supply chain issue, you have to think on your feet and make a pivot and get something put in a place where the other product used to be, but now it's gone. So early warnings, if something tends to sell out pretty quickly or moves very quickly, you want to stay on top of that. Okay, you have to know, okay, whatever it is, in your store. Maybe peanuts are very popular. Maybe it's granola bars. Maybe it's beef jerky or some other thing. Just whatever it is, be aware of what's moving quickly and handle that, right? Have more supply, more backups or substitute products or something you can put in the place of that, right? If those items are selling pretty quickly, just be proactive with this stuff, right? And overall, the goal is try to reduce losses, or simulate sales and just keep it moving. Just keep that thing going like a treadmill, right? Just keep going and going and going. Vendor scorecards, tracking those, filling those out, staying ahead of the curve. Remember, assortment pruning, remove long tail SKUs with low sales items, things like that. Pack size, quantity size, alignment, any kind of leftovers, things hanging around, you have to deal with that. Censoring, if a product sells everything available. If there's an inventory bottleneck and observed sales are less than true demand, then there could be, it's kind of a surplus, right, or an extra. So just be aware of that. Understand in stock days, what is in demand, what's not in demand. Just be aware of this stuff. Be self-aware of yourself and aware of your store and the inventory in your store, right? Predict baseline demand. After a couple of cycles, it should be fairly easy, fairly straightforward to do this, right? Understand why loss occurs in the first place, right? So why, to me, is probably the most important question you can ask for almost any kind of business scenario, right? Why is this happening? Not what happened. Okay, we sold everything. So you sold everything. That's great. Or you sold nothing, right? It's almost stagnant sale. There's no sales. Okay, that should be pretty obvious. Why is it happening? Why are you selling everything? What's causing it? What's driving it? Is it promotion? People are just coming in. They just love the product. What is it? It's sitting around for months. The product is stale. It's not moving. Why is it happening? I think the why is the most important thing you can ask in all of these scenarios. So understand why something happens. If you use some intuition, it should probably be fairly obvious. If not, there are techniques you can use. It is called, one that I've used a few times in the past is called causal inference. Yeah, that's it. Causal inference. What causes something to happen? You have a cause and effect. That will tell you the why. And I have a couple of videos on my channel. You can look at causal inference, or just Google it, or ask ChatGPT, or look at other videos on YouTube. I'm kind of biased. I like my channel. I think that one's pretty great. I think it's one of the better analytics channels out there. But if you want to go look at others, by all means, go look at others. It's called causal inference. Why does something happen? What causes something to happen? There's a cause and there's an effect. If you can understand why something happens, you are in charge, you're in command, and you're in control, and you will control the outcome very, very elegantly. Okay, so the status reason. Why, when we normalize all these sales, these revenues, and everything like this, we try to classify things based on a few different statuses. Cancellation, is something on hold? Is it back ordered? Is something pending? Is there a dispute? Has it been resolved? If there is a dispute, is something in process being shipped right now, or is it not being shipped, right? So you have to understand these items right here. We are going to go ahead and create another data frame called shipped. And based on that, we're going to look at a sub of shipped based on store row and shipped SKU row. SKU equals SKU, okay? So you can see how we're trying to slice and dice this data in a couple of different fashions and try to understand the nuances of the data, what's hidden in the data, where's that needle in the haystack, right? And try to tease out these things that are going to be very useful and very insightful for us to make informed, intelligent decisions. That's what this whole exercise is about, right? Whether you're in data science, machine learning, deep learning, AI, economics, finance, retail, supply chain management, estimating losses from stockouts, just understanding the cause and effect is very important. And then you can make intelligent, informed decisions based on reality, okay? Based on mathematics and statistics, and improve your finances and improve your bottom line. Okay, so we're almost done. Let me finish it up here. Control Enter to run this. Okay, so we're slicing, dicing a few different ways. We have the lost next ship date, days to next shipped, and has shipped plus or minus 30 days. That is important. Okay, so the next ship, when does this thing come in? If we're getting close to stock out, when can we expect more inventory? Days to next ship. Is it T-1, T-2? Is it T-10? For 10 days out, we might be in trouble. If it's T-1 and it comes to us the next day or within a couple of days, we should be fine. And has shipped plus or minus 30 days. So this is going to give a bigger window forward looking and back looking. Those 30 days from now, what can we expect in the future? 30 days ago, what was happening? This is going to be giving us a nice big window. So we have a good perspective on everything that's going on in 2 months, right? 60 days is a 2-month time frame. We can see everything from this point. So we have the lost, when I think I just refreshed, let me just hit Control Enter to make sure. The top lost reasons was right here, lost reason, lost sales. This is the total lost sales, lost units, and number of events of lost units, 104. This is the reason why we are losing this, okay? So this lost reason right here corresponds to this over here, which I said before, why. We have to understand why something is happening, okay? If you understand what is happening, that's great. That's the first step. But understand why something happens. Personally, to me, that's the most important question to ask. Why is this happening? And if you can answer that question, again, you have intuition, you have insight, you have knowledge, you have extracted useful information so you can make informed, intelligent decisions. That's what the point is. You saw the top 4 countries were US, Sweden, Spain, and UK. The reason that we are running out of our supply is systematic outage or discontinued. The same reason for all 4. Kind of a coincidence, but that's what happened here. Same for all 4. And you should recognize this number, 179,000 down to 48,950 for Spain. USA is 179 and Spain is 48. If you go back here, USA, oh, this is less units. This is less units, right? We have to multiply units by the product cost or the price that we're selling, 179, and Spain is 48. So everything ties together. You can see which are the four top countries where we're experiencing loss. USA, 179, Sweden, Spain, UK. The Spain, UK is 38, right? So UK is 38, UK over here, 38,000 out, right? That's our losses right there. And that corresponds perfectly with that right there. And all 4, kind of a coincidence, but all 4 were out of products because of a systematic outage or discontinued. Maybe this is coming from the same manufacturer. That would explain a lot, right? If it's not coming from the source, can't get to any of these 4 destinations because the source has some kind of catastrophic failure. Maybe there was a geopolitical event, the factory shut down. Maybe there was a geographical event, maybe an earthquake, maybe a tsunami, maybe a volcano. I don't know. But if the manufacturer can't get the product to the retailer because of a systemic outage or the product has been discontinued in all 4 cases, probably coming from the same supplier, and there's nothing we can do about it, we are going to have to pivot at this point and get our products from another supplier or get a substitute product that is substantially similar to this product that has been discontinued. Or again, there's some systemic outage that could be temporary that's preventing the supplier from shipping out those products to us, the retailer. Okay, so that's it. That's my take on estimating lost sales from stockouts to using POS, point of sales, and inventory signals. So that's it, guys. I think I beat this to death. I think I covered it pretty comprehensively. Leave some comments in the notes or comment section, whatever the thing is called. Leave me some comments. Subscribe to the channel if you think this is worthwhile. I love to put these videos together. Every time I do it, I use some knowledge that I already know, that I've learned over the course of time doing these things, going to grad school, getting 2 master's degrees, working for 20 plus years now, and just reading a lot. I read a lot in the newspaper, reading books, so I pick up a lot from that. But I do a lot of research too. Every single time I put out a video, I have to do a lot of research, get everything straightened out, organized, structured, and put that in a fashion that's presentable and trying to showcase something that makes sense and to stimulate people's interest and desire to learn. That's what this is all about. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. We're almost at 45 minutes. It's kind of excessive. I didn't expect it to go this long, but yeah, sometimes things don't go the way you expect them to go, right? So went a little bit over on this, but that's it. We covered everything. I'm going to wrap it up right here, right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you, and talk to you soon. Bye.